Winter storm watch that has been issued across the entire viewing area, as Taylor mentioned, all 22 counties. Goes into effect Saturday morning and continues until Monday afternoon. So this is going to be a prolonged event. We're not going to see it just for a couple of hours and then it's out of here. This is going to be a pretty serious situation as we travel through the weekend. I'll lay out the timing for you here in a second, but let's talk precipitation type. Here in the pink, which is the majority of the region, we're going to see sleet and freezing rain. Could we see a couple of snowflakes on the onset of precipitation? Yes, sure, but it's not going to be anything. This is not a snow event for our area. Honestly, the high country, not a huge snow event either. I think you guys will be lucky up in the mountains to pick up maybe an inch of snow before that ice, that sleet and the freezing rain starts to mix into your area. So again, primarily looking at an icy situation. Now this is just kind of what the snapshot of a radar could potentially look like late Saturday into Sunday. So I've narrowed down the timing as we're about 3 days away from this event. I'm talking Saturday PM into Sunday. Sure, we could get a little bit of freezing rain and sleet, maybe even a little snow around 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. I'm primarily thinking an onset of widespread moisture about 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we're talking later in the day, overnight, and then through your Sunday. In terms of precipitation type, again, mainly sleet and freezing rain. Those impacts looking at power outages and very rough road conditions. Giving you a snapshot of one of our shorter range models real quick as we head through Saturday. See 3 p.m. A couple of those showers are possible, but it's not going to be until the latter half of your Saturday overnight into Sunday that we start to get that widespread precipitation. This is all ice, you guys. I'll talk about my latest ice totals and what that could mean for power lines and trees here in our area coming up in just a little bit. Talk precipitation type, we are looking at sleet and freezing rain in this entire area shaded there in pink, but we look at some of that white area and that's primarily up in the high country. An onset of the moisture will likely be snow and then followed by a sleet or freezing rain. This forecast is still giving us headaches, to be honest. I will say one thing that the models have become a little bit more in line with is the timing. So we're looking at Saturday night. Remember, I was showing you the global models yesterday, and one was showing, hey, we could see the precipitation start earlier, which could end up being snow and be a little bit of a longer duration event. Now, right now, it looks like it's Saturday PM through Sunday. Precipitation type, mainly sleet and freezing rain, and then those impacts will be the power outages and those rough road conditions. So this is a shorter range model. Since the time frame is still about 3 days away, I don't have the time frame this at that onset of how warm, a little bit more toward freezing rain, but I do think we could see a fair amount of sleet here across the area as well. I will get more on this upcoming winter storm, have more details for you coming up in my next hit, but I want to get you out the door this morning. 24-hour temperature change. We're looking at about 20 to 25 degrees warmer than where we were this time yesterday. So it's cold, but it feels a little bit better out there. It's 43 in Charlotte, 38 in Gastonia, with Shelby right now sitting at 43 degrees as well. Now, as we head through the day today, it will be a little bit warmer out there, abundant in the way of cloud cover. Yeah, we could see some peaks of sun, but certainly more clouds than sun out there. 58 though, a few showers will be possible. I'll call it isolated as we head through the day today. You look at these rain chances through the entire day, again hovering about that 30%. So warm today, westerly winds, a little bit cooler as we head through Friday, about 49 degrees. And then here comes that Arctic air mass. We're going to see that settle in place first, and then the low pressure moving in from the Pacific. It is still off the coast of California right now, and we're trying to line up this forecast. That's why it's tough. The hurricane hunters have been flying missions, yes, the hurricane hunters, into the storm, dropping drop zones, collecting some data for us, and that's why some models are starting to line up a little bit better because we have better data. Have beautiful handwriting, of course. I write like I'm in third grade. That is a flaw.
You can't have it all.
I can't. Nope, I can't. Let's go ahead and look at what's next. We have, and yeah, I'm looking at the out west, California. We have this area of low pressure that's just off the coast of Los Angeles and really the west coast of California there. Hurricane hunters have been flying in the storm storm actually collecting some data, feeding it back to our global models, and that's why we're getting a little bit more confidence and able to narrow down this forecast a little bit more. There are still a lot of uncertainties though, which I'll talk about here in a second, but you can see this winter storm as it forms, it pushes out to the west, and look at, that's why winter storm watches are already issued. Areas even like New Mexico, stretching through Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. This is such a vast system, and it will be bringing a huge headache to meteorologists and for the public as well. So one thing we will have is this area of high pressure that pulls down this Arctic air mass. So we will have the cold air in place. We'll then have this area of low pressure, that one that I was just showing you off the coast of California. This is going to be our moisture source. Again, there are still questions. One thing we do know, we have a winter winter storm watch in place for the entire area, even surrounding counties across the Triangle and Triad out to western North Carolina as well, the upstate of South Carolina. This winter storm watch does go into effect on Saturday, in place until Monday. Here are my latest thoughts right now. Snow, we're not going to see it. This is not a snowstorm. Could we see a few flakes? Yeah, sure. But mountain snow will be possible at the onset of precipitation, possibly an inch. This is looking like an ice event for most of the area. Now, in the way of ice totals, I still have to narrow this down. I just want to tell you my latest thoughts right now. 1/4 of an inch to probably 1/2 an inch. It is possible we go over that if we don't see any dry air. It is also possible we stay around 1/4 of an inch, maybe even a little less, if we have a shorter duration of the precipitation. So an onset of the moisture coming late Saturday. Is it possible it ends midday Sunday? Right now, a couple models are trying to hint on that. It's just too soon to know. So that's why I have that wide ice range right now. But prepare for slippery roads, down trees, power outages. Just prepare. Be sure you have those supplies and that extra heat source as well. I'm going to really dive into precipitation types and why we have those differences coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. But right now, our primary precipitation types are freezing rain and sleet. These are very close in relation. It depends how deep the warm air is in the upper levels and middle levels of the atmosphere. So are we looking at more warm air or a little bit more of a shallow warm air up above our heads? Right now, I'm still leaning a little bit more toward the freezing rain and then freezing here at the surface, because surface temperatures will be cold enough. It's just what's above our head. Let's look at the ice accumulator right in the middle here, probably disruptive. Is it possible that we end up in the crippling area? Yeah, sure it is. But right now, I'm leaning right toward the middle. Let's prepare right now for icy roads and potentially numerous power outages as well. Have the food, have the water, the medicine, the flashlights, have the alternative heat source, and be sure you're checking the carbon monoxide and the smoke detector out there as well. You look at your future track. This is through Thursday. A couple of isolated showers out there today, starting the morning off a little bit more mild. But we will end up seeing a big time cool down as we head into this weekend and then heading into next week as well. You can see the onset of moisture not coming Saturday morning, maybe not even Saturday early afternoon. It's the evening that we start to get this rush of precipitation. Notice the temperatures are not snow. It's the temperature aloft that is freezing or warming anything. So it's falling as rain, but freezing on contact here at the surface. So prepare for ice as we head through this upcoming weekend. Temperatures today will be topping out above average, about 58 degrees, 22 counties. This will likely be upgraded as we are anticipating a decent dose of ice Saturday night. I know this winter storm watch says Saturday morning until Monday afternoon, but certainly anticipating the onset of the moisture to be a little bit later. So we do have these winter storm watches again posted for all of our 22 counties. We do have sleet and freezing rain. That will be that primary impact. You can see all these areas shaded. It's just snow we're forecasting. What falls from the sky depends on the temperatures all the way from the clouds down to the ground. Here's how it works. Snow forms when the entire atmosphere, the entire column of air from the cloud down to the surface is below freezing. Snowflakes stay frozen the whole way down to the ground. Now we look at these other temperature profiles. Let's start with sleet. It melts into rain as it falls through this warmer layer, but it then refreezes as it hits the ground, turning into little ice pellets. Now, freezing rain. This is the most dangerous type of winter precipitation. Snow, a shallow cold layer near the surface. Since the rain doesn't have time to refreeze in the air, it freezes upon contact with that frozen surface. So just a few degrees can mean the difference between a snow day or an ice storm. And that's why winter forecasts focus so much not at the surface temperature, but at the entire profile of the atmosphere. Keeping you weather-wise, I'm meteorologist Kaitlin W. Here across the WCCB Charlotte area, this includes the Piedmont into the foothills and heading into the high country as well. This could very well get upgraded, but right now we do have that winter storm watch in place. So I want to go ahead and show you these impacts right now. Snow is not going to be a great impact. Mountain snow, yeah, that could be the initial precipitation type north of I-40. And I'm not ruling out a couple flakes, but we're not even going to really talk about that. That's not a big deal. It's going to be the ice potential across the entire viewing area, mountains, foothills, and into areas of the Piedmont. Right now, I have a very big ice total. I will be narrowing this down. It's just we're 3 days out. I wanted to give you something. I still need probably at least 12 to 24 more hours to see this model data, to see what the hurricane hunters are finding as they're flying into the storm. That data then sent to the computer models. And that's where we get that better, data overall. Models start to come in line. We still don't have all of the data that we need from the shorter range models. Those are starting to come in now. So we're starting to get more data that we can compile to put together this forecast. But right now, about a quarter to a half an inch of ice is what I'm anticipating. Freezing rain and sleet. Those totals, of course, increase with sleet. Those are those tiny pellets, where freezing rain is rain that freezes upon contact with that frozen ground or surface that is below that freezing mark. Impacts, slippery roads, down trees, power outages. Just do be sure you are preparing, have those supplies. One thing I actually still need to get is salt. So don't forget that either. If you have walkways, if you're going to have to be going down any type of stairs to your house, you'll want that salt. Future track, this is the onset of precipitation. This is 3:08 p.m. Notice it's not widespread. Rather, it's pretty, I would say, isolated in the afternoon. It's not going to be until about dinner spread precipitation. Note, it's not snow. Actually, no freezing rain and sleet to continue overnight Saturday and then heading into Sunday. We can't forget about today, though. Let's go ahead and talk about it. You'll walk outside. It's certainly not as cold. We're running about 20 to 25 degrees warmer than where we were this time yesterday, waking up to 44 in Shelby, 42 in Charlotte, 41 in Rock Hill and Chester, 39 degrees. Now, as we head through the day today, expect temperatures to be a little above average. Soak it up, 58 degrees. Yeah, we'll have more clouds than sunshine out there and a little bit of a rain chance. Yeah, holding isolated showers, so you might want to walk out with that rain gear for Thursday and into Friday. By Saturday, though, just don't walk out. I mean, you can the first half of the day. Late, though, you won't want to. If you have dinner plans Saturday, probably not. About 33. Going to hold a couple of isolated rain showers in the forecast as we head through the day today, and then as we head through tomorrow as well. You're waking up to 42 in Charlotte right now. We will not even touch that for high temperatures as we head through this upcoming weekend. 36 in Hickory, 32 in Statesville, Lincolnton sitting at 33 degrees. You look at your day planner for this fine Thursday, 58 degrees. Again, we will be seeing a decent dose of cloud cover out there. A few showers, yeah, possible at any point through the day, holding that activity at about isolated. So you look at your future track, again, isolated showers, primarily for our southern counties. That will be the trend on Friday as well. And then this Arctic air mass spills across the area. This is showing a timestamp of noon as we head through Saturday, not seeing too much in the way of moisture. I'm thinking the onset of any winter precipitation will be later on in the day, probably right around that dinner time. So So we're going to have cold air building in from the north, an area of low pressure pumping in this moisture from the Pacific and from the Gulf. And both of these things together, well, will end up giving us that winter storm as we head into this upcoming weekend. So here's one outlook. This is the American model showing Saturday morning, not seeing that moisture just yet, but look at the surface winds. I mean, we're going to be dealing with winds straight out of the northeast, just pumping in that cold air here at the surface. At the same time, the moisture then moves in. The air aloft, meaning above our heads in the middle levels of the atmosphere, are going to be above freezing. So that's why we're getting this mixed precipitation type. But this timestamp is showing you about 10 p.m. on Saturday. We're looking at freezing rain and sleet likely across the area, depending how deep or how shallow that warmer air is aloft. Again, above our heads, not here at the surface. This is 10 p.m. Sunday. Now watch closely. You can see the area of low pressure. So it's starting to push away to the area. Let's check out the European. This is Saturday afternoon. Dry. So the European and the GFS, the GFS, the American model, those two are starting to line up with the timing. Again, this is going to be a later onset of the moisture. Still looking at freezing rain and sleet to be the primary impacts. I think we need at least another day of some computer model data to show what we could potentially be seeing in the way of the sleet or freezing rain, because again, it all has to do with the temperatures above our heads. This is the European model at 10 p.m. Could we then transition to rain? Yeah, we could, but I still think things will freeze here at the surface. Temperatures will still be below freezing. So we'll have to watch out for potential dry air or potential change to just rain. Those are two unknowns in our forecast as we head through this upcoming weekend. One thing we do know is very, very frigid air. Here on my map, this is all 22 counties. Now, we could very well see this upgraded to a warning, but this is in place Saturday morning, actually, until Monday. So this is going to be a multi-day event, not because the precipitation will be falling through several days, but because those impacts. I mean, we're talking slick roads certainly continuing through Monday, potentially Tuesday, maybe even into Wednesday for some spots, because these surface temperatures are just going to struggle to get above that freezing mark. So we do have sleet and freezing rain as that primary precipitation type for much of the area. Yeah, we could see a little onset of some snow up in the high country, but you guys, I'm talking maybe an inch of snow. This is still going to be an ice event for our mountain communities as well. So you have actually, I was looking at, just for the fun of it, the Apple weather app, and it was showing 18 inches of snow up there. Like, that is not going to happen. So watch and just make sure you're trusting what you're getting this weather information from. We look at this kind of headline graphic I'm showing you. And a lot of the Carolinas, especially this swath here right across the Piedmont, really looking at that mixed precipitation. So the timing, Saturday evening, overnight into Sunday. The precipitation type, mainly sleet and freezing rain. Sure, an onset of some snow is possible up in the high country, maybe a couple of flakes here in areas of the Piedmont, but we are primarily looking at just an icy mess late Saturday transitioning into Sunday. So impacts, power outages and road conditions, those are the greatest impacts. When you talk about a quarter to potentially upwards of a half an inch of ice, you're looking at some downed trees, some tree limbs starting to sag, potentially falling on power lines as well. Now, no storm is the same, but a lot of you were probably here in the Carolinas in 2002 for that ice storm. We saw about a half an inch to an inch of ice. I don't think we're leaning toward that right now, but I do think we could have some of those trouble spots if we make it up to that half an inch of ice threshold. So again, those impacts, slippery roads, down trees, power outages. Be sure you have those extra supplies, the food, the water, the milk, the bread that you need, and also have that extra heat source. Even if it's just some extra blankets for you, get gas in your car, make those preparations today. So you look at your future track. Now, this is actually one of our shorter range models, so that we're starting to collect more data as we're getting a little closer to the event. Hurricane hunters are collecting this, feeding it to the models. 6 p.m. Saturday, late Saturday, overnight, and then continuing as we head into tracks to the east. You can see that winter storm, why those watches are issued from areas of New Mexico through Texas into areas of Kansas, Arkansas. We have areas like Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama. I mean, I could keep going. This is going to impact about 22 states. That is nearly half of the United States. This is a monster system, really, and bringing a wide variety of impacts. One thing a lot of the country will see is dangerously cold temperatures, even on the backside of this system. So we look at kind of what we're dealing with synoptically or in the atmosphere. So we have this area of high pressure. This is going to be very strong, pumping in this Arctic air mass, also this Arctic front that's going to cross the area. So we're going to have the cold air established at the surface. That's not a problem. Sometimes in the Carolinas, we don't have that cold air established, and that's why forecasts are so tricky. That's not the case of the tricky forecast this time. We have the cold air. We're going to have the moisture. It's the precipitation type because of the temperatures that are above our heads in the middle levels of the atmosphere. That's why we're still not locked in on a precipitation type. Right now, we've narrowed it down. It's not going to be snow. It won't be all rain. It'll be freezing rain and or sleet. So we do have these winter storm watches posted for all 22 counties. What are we looking at in terms of impacts? Slippery roads, down trees, power outages. Right now, I don't know if they'll be scattered or if they'll be widespread. That depends on how much ice we end up getting. Also, freezing rain is a lot worse for sagging limbs on trees and power lines. So if we get more sleet, we might not be looking at as many power outages, but I will tell you, sleet is very bad for the roads as well. In terms of ice accumulation, somewhere between about 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch. I very well, just heads up, might end up shifting these a little bit more, a little bit less. If models end up bringing dry air in, a little less. If we get a prolonged period of freezing rain, we could end up at 3/4 of an inch of ice. That's not off the table at this point. So I will continue to fine tune this forecast over the next about 24 hours or so. We will take a look at precipitation types and why this is so important coming up in just a little bit. 22 to 24 at this point. So there are so many people, millions and millions of people that are going to be impacted by this winter storm. So we do have winter storm watches posted for all 22 counties here in the WCCB Charlotte viewing area. We could see this actually get upgraded as well as we head through the next 24 hours or so. So let's first talk precipitation type. The timing of the precipitation, not the watch, the precip that will fall, is going to be Saturday night, overnight, unclear. But we're looking at sleet and freezing rain to be that primary precipitation type here across the Piedmont and into parts of the foothills, really even into the high country. Although you guys could end up getting a little bit more snow and then some freezing rain and or sleet, which I'll talk about why this matters so much and why it's still kind of an uncertainty, is because the warmer air aloft, we don't know how deep that layer is going to be. If it'll be a little bit more shallow, that'll lead to more refreezing, leading to sleet. If it's going to be a deep warm layer, we just have that freezing air at the surface, it would then be freezing rain. James and I will cover that coming up in about 10 minutes or so. But the timing again, Saturday night into Sunday, that precipitation type, mainly sleet and freezing rain, those impacts, power outages, and of course, treacherous road conditions, especially once we get some of that refreezing. We are talking a lot of ice there out on the road. So you look at your future track. This is 3 p.m. Look at that onset of a little bit of snowfall up across areas of the high country. But watch what happens around dinner time. We get all of this freezing here at the surface, but aloft it's warmer, meaning sleet and freezing rain, and it will be widespread Saturday overnight and then heading into early Sunday as well. So prepare for just a very messy weekend. You certainly, if you could stay home, you're going to want to. Here's a look at your 24-hour temperature change. This morning, it is much warmer than where we were this time yesterday by a good about 15 to 20 degrees out there. So it's actually feeling pretty decent for the middle of January, and especially in relation to what's to come. 35 in Lincolnton right now, 40 in Morganton, even Boone 35, with Charlotte sitting at 42 degrees. You look at your day planner, we'll be topping out above average in the upper 50s as we head through your Thursday. Yeah, we have a rain chance in the forecast today. It's not much, and I think it's primarily for our southern counties. We're looking at those isolated showers as we travel through the day today. So 58, enjoy it with a westerly wind. Wind direction shift. Arctic air will start to build into the area Friday. Heading into Saturday, hardly reaching freezing here at the surface and for right now. So actually, the hurricane hunters have been traveling in this low pressure system to collect the data. They have then been feeding that data to the computer models, and that's why a lot of our global medium range models have become a little bit better in line. It's because we're collecting more data. It's all technology and science when it comes to forecasting, and honestly, things are improving, but I will tell you, winter weather forecasting, it's pretty tough. So here's this area of low pressure. Watch this kind of move across the country. So into areas of California really today, and then continuing with this robust onset of moisture from the Pacific and from the Gulf, cold air from the north, and that's where you get these winter storm watches, even warnings posted from areas out west in the middle of the country that will end up moving eastward. So here eastward in the Carolinas, we have the high pressure supplying the cold air out to the north. We have this area of low pressure that's going to ride somewhere near the Gulf Coast. So we're getting the Gulf moisture, the Pacific. We're getting also that area of high pressure. The question mark is, what are the temperatures above our heads? At the surface, we're going to be cold enough. Cold air is dense, it sinks. Think of your house when you turn on the heat. Upstairs is so much warmer, right? Because that warm air is rising. So we are going to likely have an onset of warmer air that's going to rise above that cold layer. How deep is that warm layer above our heads, though? That is the question, and that depicts if we get the sleet or if we end up getting the freezing rain. So we do have winter storm watches posted for all of our 22 counties here across the area. I do think the onset of precipitation will come later. So the timing, Saturday evening, probably dinner time. Now I think the high country will probably start with a little bit of snow and then transition into that ice. How much ice area wide? Right now, this is a very early guess. 1/4 of an inch. Is it possible that we end up getting 3/4 of an inch of ice? And this becomes a terrible to look at if we get more freezing rain, if we get more sleet, if we have any dry air on the backside of this. So there are still a lot of questions in this forecast. Please prepare, though. We're expecting impacts across the area. What you can expect, I'll get to that in a second, but we have these winter storm watches from Saturday morning until Monday afternoon. Here is what you can expect. The timing of precipitation will be really probably later on Saturday. This very well could shift to the afternoon, but right now we're thinking around dinner time is when we'll start to see that widespread precip move into the area. We're looking at primarily sleet and freezing rain. Honestly, for most of the region, I do think a little onset of some snow that maybe could end up amounting to about an inch up in the high country is possible. But you guys too, yeah, it's going to be so cold at the surface. So you're going to say, why is this not all snow? Like a mile, half a mile above our head. So it depends exactly how warm it is, and where that warm nose is will depend on if we see that sleet or if we see that freezing rain. Sleet, I will tell you, both of them are very bad for the roads, but if we had to pick a precip type that would be better outcome for us, we would want sleet. Freezing rain is the aptitude on tree limbs, on power lines as well, and that just creates a terrible situation. But right now we look at future track. This is 3 p.m. Saturday, yeah, onset of some snow possible, and then we look Saturday right around dinner time, and that's when we're getting this onset of sleet and or freezing rain here across the area. Still some question marks with this forecast, and this one shorter range model starting to come into the picture now, showing right around midnight. We're still dealing with that frozen precipitation. So stay with your WCCB WeatherWise team. We will continue to keep you updated. Out the door right now, we're